Welcome to Life in Times of Cotto. I am your host, Jay Cotto. And in today's segment, I do want to discuss something that kind of came my way while I was at work. I was helping these two girls, and it was a gay couple. And I helped them on two separate days, consecutive days. But the first day being, I was just giving them information, things like that. And one of the girls was, asking a few questions and had, from the dialogue that I had, apparently seemed to have some sort of spat with her family. I didn't dive too deep into that. And that's what this segment is going to be about. And I'm gonna come full circle in a second, but I just want to give you some back conversation. And so I didn't dig too deep the first day. The second day, however, I saw them and I decided to ask, a little bit more about the situation. Apparently her and her family weren't getting along. They were at odds. And I just kind of, asked, if you don't mind me asking, because again, I started to have a little bit more of a deeper conversation, not with that, but it was just something that we were having general conversation and we, kind of getting to know the consumer. And in doing so, I asked, if you don't mind me asking, what's the situation? And the situation was that the family was homophobic, which was a bit heartbreaking. And I'm going to go into a story as to why I felt that way. So I shared a story with one of the girls, not the one that had the issue. She went out and was having a conversation with her parents and trying to resolve whatever situation. But anyway, I shared this story with the girl, and at one time in my life, I was also homophobic. I was also the guy on the side that was just kind of like, oh nah, it ain't right, it ain't natural, that kind of stuff, right? And one day I was at work, and it was before I started working for the company that I'm working for now. But one day I read this story. And in this story, I don't remember all the details, but I'm going to give you the gist of what the story was. In this story, there was, I guess, two guys, and one played sports for a college, and the other one was just your average student in the same college. Now, I guess they must have had some kind of relationship or affair or whatever it is that was going on. And what ended up happening was that one of them was going to be outed by the other. I don't remember if it was the dude that played sports or if it was the guy who was just a regular student, but one of them was going to become outed by the other. And because of this kind of I don't want to use the word embarrassment, but I'm going to use it because I don't have another word, but at least it's not coming to me yet. But I guess he didn't have a way of communicating with his family. And I'm not going to say embarrassment. He didn't have a way of communicating and speaking to someone to make him comfortable, I guess, for whatever it is that he was going through. And in doing so, and because of that, he decided that his only out was to commit suicide. And at that very moment, when I read that story, I started to really dig deep and really think, like, what kind of world do we live in that someone is not comfortable enough to be able to speak to their family or their friends, that the only outlet they have is death. And that hit me, it impacted me so hard that, again, I started to think to myself, it's like, what world do we live in that we don't have enough compassion for someone? Doesn't matter if you agree with their lifestyle. Doesn't matter, what it is that you think is wrong or right. The right thing is for you to have compassion enough for the person next to you or the person in front of you to just give them an ear, give them a shoulder. The right thing is to be able to communicate, whether you agree or don't agree. We could disagree and agree about races and a whole bunch of other things, but you can't have enough compassion to lend an ear. But the only outlet for that person was to die. And it was heartbreaking, and it made me rethink everything. I have 4 children, and I enjoy my children every day, but I couldn't imagine my children not having an out, that they can't communicate with me. They can't express something to me and not feel confident and comfortable that I'll understand. Maybe I won't, but I love them and I'll embrace them and I'll make sure that they're comfortable enough in their family unit that they have someone to be able to rely on. Now, moving forward from that, as this person was the other young lady who was discussing, whatever situation with her family, um, came back and she was asking me, what else, she could do to make sure that the transition was, transition from whatever she was doing into my company to make it seamless. And so I expressed, well, this is what we can do. You can move whatever, services or whatever you got over to my company. And all you would have to do is just terminate, whatever accounts or whatever it is that you have. And this is how you do it. Now, while she was on the phone with her family, I was giving this information. I gave them the information that they needed to do that. And while she was on the phone standing next to me, it was terminated like that. Now, which was really impactful as well. Because again, it brought me back to that same situation. Like, where's the compassion that you had so much anger, so much whatever you got going on, that it had to be done at that moment while she was speaking to you? And that's your family. And that's the level of hatred, non-understanding, no compassion. That's the reality of some people. That's the reality of some people's situation. And this is just a conversation of just kind of expressing what I came across, what at some point I was like, and how I changed, and how I understood, and how I learned. And ever since then, I've had a lot of gay friends and co-workers and things like that. And they're people like anybody else. And for us to really look at things any differently is atrocious. Everyone deserves love. Doesn't matter where they're getting it from. You're equally as deserving of love as the other person or the person next to you. It's not your business how they get it. The only thing that you need to know is that they're loved and they're happy and they're made whole. And the fact that we don't have enough compassion for that is insane. But anyway, that's all I got. Do what you do it well, do it the best way you know how. I am Jay Cotto, and I am out.